Hey there folks, my name is Jared Fenwick and this is Pneumatic Oasis, and today I just want to show you how to stay warm with a hot water bottle. Okay, so this is one of the ways to keep warm in winter. It's a lot cheaper than heating your whole house. So you just stick it on the propane burner and center it and heat it up until you don't want to touch it anymore. Possibly a bit hotter than that. So this propane flame, it's like a small diameter, so there's not much heat being wasted up the sides. So it's quite efficient on this style of propane burner. If you have a double ring or something, you're going to waste a lot. And on an electric, it's really not that efficient. But a propane stove works really well. Yeah, I forget how long it takes, a minute or two. Now, when I live here, I don't wear my life jacket all the time. I'm just out here on maintenance. So this is a Dickinson diesel burning stove, and it's pretty standard on sailboats. Yeah, it's running all the time, like 24/7 usually, and I kind of maintain it at a moderate level, like it's not really cranked. So I just leave my water bottle on the stove, and there's a couple things you want to know about that. Like, it'll get really hot, so you need a sock to put around it when you use it as a hot water bottle. And also, if you just leave it on there, it can actually boil over. And as you know, that'll create steam and it will explode the top off. So you just leave that cracked with enough of an air gap, and then if it happens to boil, then it just vents properly and no problem. So this is my standard drinking water bottle. I typically don't use my drinking bottle. I just have a dedicated one. I just use the same water for months at a time. Maybe every 6 months I take it apart and clean the algae off. Not a big deal. Also on this stove, I prefer the one with the flat bottom because when you're at sea, you couldn't leave it on there at sea. So this one is not as stable with the round sides. So the flat one is significantly more stable. Okay, so here's the flat bottom water bottle that I was talking about. Trouble with the flat bottom bottle is that it has that sharp 90-degree angle, and if you bonk it on your knee or elbow or whatever, it hurts. So I prefer this kind, the round bottom, unless I'm on the stove here. So yeah, okay, so eventually you're probably going to forget to crack that top and it will explode. I've done it. It's actually pretty hilarious. I was standing right here at the kitchen sink, I think. Yeah, anyway, it sounded like a grenade went off and scared the tar out of me. And it just blew, like 4/5 of that water was ejected up into the ceiling and air. It like atomized. Like it went from boiling to lukewarm before it even hit me. Like, I got a few drops on my face and it was actually warm. I was quite surprised. And I was standing, I don't know, less than 3 feet away. Um, just putting it into context that if it does blow up and you happen to be right near it, unless your face is right over it or something, the consequences are negligible. I didn't get scalded at all. But, like, I swear there was that much water left in the bottom. It was gone. Oh, it was exciting. What else? I don't know if I think of anything else. I'll sort of stuff it in there somewhere. Sounds like my friend's back. That engine you heard is my neighbor. So this is where I lived for years. There's my mascot. My canoe. My neighbor lives over there on that boat. Somebody went through the trouble to make a stained glass window. I'm not living in here right now, so if you happen to see some spider webs, you'll have to get over that. Is inside my head here. I'd show you that, but if there happens to be any girls watching, I'd not be impressed. Wasn't so bad when I lived here, though. This guy out there is way too close to me. Okay, so here's the other option. This here is your standard oil-filled heater. Except on a boat, stability is an issue. So what I did is I ripped off the casters and I left the bolts there, and I just set it on top of that wood and gave the bolts a tap, and then when I saw the mark on the wood I drilled a hole really snug, and then I just hammered the bolts into that hole. There's one on each side so it doesn't roll around anymore, which was important on a boat. Okay, so the reason the top of that is flat is so that I can warm food up on top of it. And it's got the notch in there, so that drops in there really well. Okay, so a couple of the key features on this basket here. I think that's 1/2-inch mesh. I found it laying in the dirt somewhere. So what I did was, can't really see it from there, but I bent up the corner and bent it up around on this side so they were not sharp and sticking out everywhere. And then I bent a flat spot and just creased it at one of these rods on each side, bent it up, flat, and down. And that way I could have both contours. One, drop the bottle in there, put the pan or whatever on top there, and then this is rebar tie wire, and so you can see the tube there. So I ran the wire around the tube, back up through there, grabbed them with the pliers and twisted them around and around a few times, then clipped them off, and then turned that twist down down into the heater so that there was not the sharp end sticking up out of there, and a couple of them. And it's been on there for like a couple of years maybe. Never went anywhere. So one of my buddies put a wire like about 2 inches in excess of these dimensions and suspended it a couple inches up, so he drops a towel over there and dries his towel without any risk of burning it, or pants or whatever, socks. Just thought I'd put that in there. Oh, say, is that my stepmother? Ooh, I got a chill there all of a sudden. Now we're going to take this and this. I really wish I had a cooler sock, but I don't. She left. It's going to make somebody else's life difficult. So it's nice to warm your bed up at night. And if this is in your bed and it's under your sheets, it's like 4 or 5 hours it stays hot. And if you're camping, I used my 2-liter bottle. And you can heat it up on your campfire, which will put soot on it. So my other one has soot, this doesn't. And then you can use, I use a cotton case for my my wood fire pots to keep the soot off, and stuff it in your sleeping bag or just under your winter jacket, and I stick it in my lap. Like when I'm hiking and I make a pot of tea, I often stick that bottle underneath my shirt and stay toasty warm out with a nice view somewhere. I just thought I'd put that in there. Okay, so this is a microwavable sock. Let's start again. Okay, this is a regular sock, and you fill it with rice. I used short grain brown rice, and you just throw it in the microwave. This one I use, well, I put it on 4 minutes, but this is a pretty big one. So you warm your neck, or stick it under a blanket or whatever. Okay, so I just stitched the top shut. I seem to remember using about 7 cups of rice in here. This one's probably like 1.5 pounds or something like that, maybe a kilo for the metric people. So try to use the tightest weave sock you can, or a canvas or something like that, maybe even a cloth. I was thinking of canvas, but canvas is like it's a bit cold, hard, so sock material is more comfortable. So something about the beans, most commonly people use rice, and I didn't have any white rice around because I don't like the stuff. And I had a choice between long grain and short grain, and I went with the fatter short grain rather than a longer the long grain, because the long grain will want to pierce through, and it will come out and you'll lose it, and you'll have it down your pants and in your socks and all over the place in your bed. These are awesome to, you just chuck them under your sheets before you go to bed, and then jump in there and you're good. People often go with the thinner sock and use less rice and then just throw it on 3 minutes. Don't burn it. Do not forget that on there and burn it. It will stink, and it will never stop stinking. Every time you heat it up, it'll give off this yucky burnt smell. So just replace the rice. But the rice will last for a few years, like pretty much until you burn it. So yeah, I highly recommend these if you own a microwave. I own a microwave because I'm renting it. I didn't buy it. And I've lived in this apartment for 2.5 years. And this is the only thing that I've ever used my microwave for. Swear to God, the only thing. Probably you're not going to start glowing if you use it though. Rightio. That's probably all I could think about for the sock. Why even own a sailboat if you don't do some scrimshaw on whalebone now and again? I like to carve bone. This one's a baby harbor seal. I like carving stuff. Whalebone's one of my favorite. This is a halibut hook that I made. It's just a reproduction. Almost anatomically perfect, but not quite. This should be a bit longer in here. Other than that, it's accurate. It was my first one. Disclaimer, guys. It's not actually cold in here. I just had to get that off my chest, right?